Hello, and welcome to a special International Literacy Day episode of Spotlight On. I'm Marti Hill, the District's Senior Lead Educator for Humanities. Today, we are shining the spotlight on two of our fellow district educators who are publishing books this year. Janel Williams, our Senior Lead Educator for Math and Science, is a former math educator who now oversees all science and math instruction in Camden schools. This year, Janel will publish her first book, Granddaddy Parallelogram, The Power of Unity, a children's story written to help young learners understand complex math theories while developing a love of reading. Dr. Audrey is a 10-year veteran teacher who currently teaches special education at Woodrow Wilson High School. Her second novel, a teen suspense book published last month, tackles the complex subjects of post-traumatic stress disorder called The Ties That Bind Us. Dr. Cuff's novel tackles many of the tough issues of the day, from veterans coming home from war, unsafe drinking water affecting urban populations. Now, today is International Literacy Day. So my first question to you both is, what was your favorite book as a child? We'll start with you, Janel.
My favorite book was The Little Engine That Could.
And why was that your favorite book? How did that spark your love for reading?
Well, it inspired me to remember that I can do all things, and with a little faith. And so it made me excited about reading because I knew I could read. And I just believed that I could read more and more and more and keep on like that little engine that could.
So how about you, Dr. Cuff? What was your favorite book?
My favorite book was the Nancy Drew series, and a lot of mysteries that she had to solve, and that kept my interest.
Right. And as teachers, as a teacher in the classroom, what are some things that you do to instill a love for reading in your classroom?
Well, my first book, City of Thieves, I had my special education students help me with different segments of the book. For example, if I was writing something about the main character and her environment, they would help me, draw us from some different perspectives from a teenager, so that was helpful. And after that, the next day I would come in, they were ready, and it was like, well, did you write it? Did you type it? Let's add this, let's add that. So that's sparked their interest in reading.
And that kept them excited?
Yes.
And so, Janel, I know your role's a little bit different. How do you inspire teachers in the classroom to use literacy to kind of drive their instruction, especially from a math and science perspective?
Well, literacy is actually very important in mathematics right now. Problem solving is one of the biggest areas that we focus on. And so reading is a big part of it. So reading sparks the problem solving. And we also teach students how to decode the problems that they're reading. Okay. And so students are encouraged, of course, to read.
Okay. So I know as a teacher, I was working really hard and, teaching and supervising their full-time jobs. What gave you the motivation to spend your evenings and your weekends writing and editing for long, long days, way after classroom, way after the office? How did you guys push through that?
It was very difficult for me. I have 2 children at home, having to go from the job that I do and then having to be a mom and write, very, very challenging. However, my love for what I was doing and the passion for what I was doing kept me going. I paced myself, so pacing yourself is very important, and putting time aside and keeping that determination in your mind and heart that I'm going to finish. I had to have that little engine that could, I can, and will finish.
Okay, what about you, Dr. Cuff?
Well, Ms. Williams touched on a lot of things. I want to say the passion is what drives writers, because there's not enough time in the day, and you have to make time for what you believe in and what you love. So a typical day for me would be, I would come home after teaching, instead of trying to unwind, because I know that my best writing is in the evening. Okay. So I would go and get right to writing a different segment or a different paragraph or chapter as soon as I got home. That way, I had no excuse. Like, once you relax, it's over.
It's over,
yeah,
right.
So that's what I did.
I think we can all relate to that. Now let's talk a little bit more about the process of publishing a book. What surprises did you face as you began that process? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, this was my first book. I know Dr. Audrey, she's done it before, but for me, I had a lot of surprises. I did not know how labor intensive it is to go over with the editing over and over and over again. When you think that you had it right the first time, it's like you have to do it 3 and 4 times with different editors and different types of editors, actually. So that shocked me. I thought that writing a 20-page children's book was going to be simple, but not at all. Also, the illustration piece took forever because there's another person involved that had to do the illustrations.
Right.
So that was a challenge.
What about you, Dr. Cuff? What did you experience, or what did you do differently since this is your second?
You know, the first time when I wrote City of Thieves, the rejection letters. I mean, you send out query letters and you're expecting, oh, you hear something back and say, oh, we accept your book, we're interested in it. So I think for anyone that wants to publish a book, to really brace themselves for the rejections.
Okay.
And as long as you believe in your work and you continue pushing forward, you'll make it. So that was a surprising thing.
Well, you know what's interesting with what you said, I actually did not go through traditional publishers. I did self-publishing. And so there was no need for rejection. I just went for it.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Both very interesting perspectives. Now, I want to know a little bit more about each of your new publications. First, Dr. Cuff, can you tell us about the ties that bind us and what went into it and what you hope that readers get out of it?
Well, I wrote it to inspire and enlighten our society about the men and women that serve our country. I have a great respect for them, and I think that once they come home from serving our country, they should really be embraced. And some cases they're not. So I didn't find a book that addresses post-traumatic stress disorder from a teen perspective. When their loved ones go off to war and their father or their mother come back, or uncle or aunt comes back, and they're different, not in all cases, but most cases they could be a little different, trying to adjust to society. From a teen perspective, that can be shocking. So that's why I wrote The Ties That Bind Us.
Okay. And Janelle, your book has a pretty unique concept. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, I am really excited about this book because I want to tell you quickly why I wrote the book, or how I was inspired, was after reading a study from the University of Chicago. I saw that parents who read math bedtime stories to their children actually approach mathematics with less anxiety, and in return, their children approach mathematics with less anxiety. And then studies have shown that students' scores have improved within 1 year if the parents would read at least one math story a week. But here's the issue. I have not seen many math stories for, that can be used for bedtime. So I figured, hey, there's a need for something that I like to do. I love to be creative with mathematics. And I always have been a creative math teacher. And so I wanted to write this story for my children. And what's interesting about this concept, Granddaddy, may I show you the?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, what's interesting about Granddaddy Parallelogram, he actually was birthed when I was teaching high school geometry. And so this concept of the family tree, I developed this to teach my students with special needs, as well as my students with, who were honor students. So all students like to have fun with mathematics. And so Granddaddy Parallelogram, I developed this concept into a story that allows for students who are as young as kindergartner age to understand high school concepts. And it's in a fun, vibrant, illustrations, using fun illustrations, and a story that children can actually relate to. So it's about a brother and sister who just can't get along, and they find out that they actually have more in common than they thought, but just in different ways. But there's something magical that takes place that's really, really cool.
That's really exciting. Can you tell our viewers how they can get their hands on a copy?
Oh yes, you can go to granddaddyp.com. That's GRANDADDYP for Parallelogram.com. CCSD-TV.com. And if you go on now, you can get a 20% discount and a signed autographed copy because you're going to pre-order. So when they come in, you will get your copy.
Very exciting. Dr. Cuff, can you do the same? Just tell us a little bit about how our viewers can get their hands on a copy of your book.
Well, actually, it was released today, and
Very
they can go to
exciting.
Amazon.com or genzpublishing.org. Also, you can visit my website, audreycuff.com. There's information there about the book.
So thank you so much for that. We know that our viewers and our parents are going to be looking for ways to help their children who struggle at home. Can you give us some tips for families to encourage their kids to sit down and read?
Sure. There's my
I know we got
advice.
some from Miss Williams, but if
Right.
you could kind of give us a middle school perspective, sometimes they're a little harder to inspire.
Well, I think once you find, from a parent's perspective, what your child likes and find it in a book form, for example, if they like basketball, find a book that fits their needs and their interests, because you have to grab their interests. And you're breaking the barrier right there, because you start off with something they like, and the sky's the limit with that.
And so right now, speaking of interest, I want you to share a passage with us that you find most interesting in the book.
Actually, it's the first page.
Okay.
Give that back to me. Nothing's for free around here, yells a chubby, brown-skinned woman. She snatches a pack of cigarettes from a thin woman with gray hair who sits at the wooden table directly across from her. Okay, relax, says the thin woman. I didn't need to smoke anyway. I just happened to find a pack of cigarettes on the ground. So from that passage, I think it can kind of set the tone for, okay, where are they? And basically the book is about how sometimes as a society we assume different things. For example, when our men and women come home from the war, and just maybe they may have PTSD, but they also show signs of someone that may abuse drugs or abuse alcohol. But as a society, we'll judge them quick without really actually knowing what's going on with that person. So again, this book touches on stereotypes, perceptions that we should really wait to see before we judge.
Excellent. And Janelle, can you close us out with a passage from your book as well?
Absolutely. Yes. Rambella left the family meeting upset and stomped to her bedroom. I can't take this anymore, murmured Rambella. Being a pretty rhombus with all equal sides is not enough. I want to be right, just like my brother Recht, declared Rambella. I deserve respect from my brother and others.
Thank you. Thank you for watching this special International Literacy Day episode of Spotlight On. Thank you to our talented and inspirational guests, Ms. Janel Williams and Dr. Audrey Cuff. I'm Marti Hill, and until next time, keep reading.